Testimony begins tomorrow morning in the American Sniper murder trial. The first two witnesses will be Chris Kyle's widow and Chad Littlefield's mother. After they testify, they will be able to stay in the courtroom for the remainder of the trial. That was decided today in pretrial motions. All other witnesses will not be able to stay. Eddie Ray Routh is accused of the 2013 murders of Kyle and Littlefield at an Erath County gun range. Kyle tried to help Routh, also a war veteran, adjust his civilian life, thinking he had PTSD. 800 potential jurors have now been whittled down to 10 women and 2 men who will decide the case. The pool was questioned about all the pretrial publicity. We saw some of those questions today. One read, have you read the book, listened to the audiobook, or seen the movie American Sniper? If yes, circle which ones and tell us what are your thoughts about it and or Chris Kyle. Defense attorneys have said Routh will plead innocent by reason of insanity.
And retired State District Judge John Creuzot is with us tonight. We appreciate you being here to talk about this.
Thank you.
Whole country's talking about it.
Yes, it is.
Lots of people are. Let's talk about Taya Kyle and Judy Littlefield. They will be the first tomorrow on this down. I would imagine it's going to be pretty emotional in court.
Oh, absolutely. When you have victims' families come like that, and wives and mothers come to testify right at the beginning of a trial, it's often very emotional.
So what's the strategy? What's the thinking behind that? I mean, I guess originally I would think, all right, let's do the facts, 1, 2, 3, here's what happened, but they're starting out with emotion.
Well, it depends on how you want to try the case. Sometimes prosecutors will leave those types of witnesses to the end of the case. In this case, they're putting them on up front, and they'll be there to establish identity, but they'll also be there to establish the background and the careers of these men and who they were and what they did. And all of that will be very emotional, of course, playing into what this case is all about, who was killed and why.
So does it matter that they're then going to be able to stay in the courtroom? Will that affect the jury members, do you think?
It should not. And the reason they're allowed to stay in is because they don't know anything about the facts of the case. They're there just to establish identity and history of the individuals killed. After that, they don't know anything. They don't have any personal knowledge about any of the facts or the investigation. So there's no compromise to letting them see the rest of the evidence in the case.
Gotcha. And do you think the judge is then, which he's put a gag order on this, nobody can talk about this who's involved, but do you think that he's also going to give some sort of watch the emotion in court? Because it's going to be so hard for both of these women to sit there, and I would imagine, and hear the things that they're going to hear.
Well, probably what's been done is they've been told to watch their emotions, because anything can trigger an emotion from a victim's family. And the judge is not always paying attention to that, nor the lawyers. So they'll probably have been given some instructions on trying to maintain their own emotional composure. And they may be asked to leave, for example, when certain pictures come up, like autopsy pictures. That's very common for us to ask the victim's family to leave the courtroom. So they don't, well, you don't want them to see it in the first place.
Right, of course. So let's talk about the makeup of the jury. You have 10 women and 2 men. Initially, I think, wow, that's going to be people who are more empathetic to Eddie Ray Routh, but you say? Not
necessarily so. It depends on how they answer the questions, what their backgrounds are, how they view the issues of mental health, insanity, defense, for example. I'm sure all of those things have been gone over, not only in questionnaires, but by direct questioning to them. And so I've never been one to subscribe to the fact that groups think a certain way, women or men or this, that, and the other. I think you have to look at the individual person and see how they fit for the case.
Do you think Eddie Ray Routh is going to take the stand himself? You think we're going to hear from him?
I have no idea. It depends on what type of evidence is already presented. For example, if he gave a statement of some sort and his statement is consistent with a person who's suffering from delusions or mental health problems, there may not be a need to put him on the stand. On the other hand, sometimes defendants want to take the stand when it's not in their best interest to do so, and lawyers can't stop them from doing it. So you never really know if someone will take the stand.
Well, we're showing pictures now. What a difference. Look at how much weight he has gained in his time behind bars. Clean shaven, haircut, glasses. How does that play out in the courtroom?
Well, you know, he's been incarcerated for a while.
Getting 3 meals a day?
3 meals a day, hopefully good meals a day.
Right.
Oftentimes people who are mentally ill are back on a balanced regimen of medicines, and they eat better, and they're just, everything is working better. Their system's working better. They're not out on the streets. Oftentimes they're homeless and not eating. And so sometimes you can see a dramatic change. And of course in jail, they'll get a haircut and they'll shave and things like that to be ready for trial. Let's say he wears glasses but wasn't wearing them at the time, and had lost them or whatever, and they may have on glasses during trial so they can see. So you can sometimes see a dramatic difference in a person from when an offense occurred to the time they go to trial.
Well, we certainly are in this situation. Any timeline at all that you're thinking on what it's going to take to move through this trial?
I would think a week or two,
Okay.
depending on how it plays out. I would think that would be about a minimum amount of time to try the case. Yes.
Well, we're going to stay in Stephenville and keep watching it. Judge,
Yep.
appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, as
Yes.
always.